Back in the 90s and 2000s, if you wanted to save a buck on a motherboard for a new PC, both VIA and SiS were common names. Both were either pretty good or pretty terrible depending on the platform. I already talked about VIA numerous times on my channel before, so let's concentrate on the latter company. Founded in 1987, Silicon Integrated Systems started making chipsets for motherboards in the 386 era, and it instantly grew up in popularity. SiS was also a big name in the graphics market, being the maker of the very popular 6326 graphics chip, as well as the 300 series and Sabre series. And yes, they also made iGPUs. The first ones were basically just their existing graphics chips slapped onto their chipsets. But later on, after several employees quit SiS to found XGI Technology, the remaining members of the team needed to create something new, something to shake up the consumer GPU market, something truly outstanding. Introducing the Mirage, also known as the Real256E. It was released sometime in 2003 and was meant to mark a new and exciting chapter in SiS history. Is what I would say if the Mirage wasn't just a rebranded SiS 315 GPU. I mean, what did you expect? It's named after the Mitsubishi Mirage, for God's sake. Yes, the Mirage continued the trend of very low-end SiS graphics chips being glued to motherboard chipsets haphazardly. As such, it's quite lacking specs-wise, with a core clock of 200 MHz, 2 pixel shaders, no vertex shaders, OpenGL 1.3 and DirectX 7 support, but with no TNL, and can use up to 64 MB of shared DDR memory. Even for 2003, these specs do not bring any confidence. But I like to suffer with these kinds of graphics every now and then, because it makes me appreciate other hardware I have even more. System used for testing features an ASRock K7S41GX Socket 462 motherboard, an AMD Athlon XP 2600 Plus, and 512 MB of DDR running at 333 MHz. The Mirage should perform slightly better with 400 MHz, but come on, there's only so much you can do to improve this in any major way. Whoa, slow down there. It's not the right time yet, as I do really need to talk about the drivers, or more specifically, the settings panel. What is this shit? What the hell is this? This control panel is just barren. You can change the resolution of the display, adjust the colors, and that's it. There are absolutely no graphical settings that you can change here. This is the absolute worst GPU control panel I have ever seen. And what that means is the Mirage isn't exactly well fit for Windows 98. Why? Because for some reason, by default, the 98 drivers have VSync turned on internally, and because there are no options in the settings, you can't do jack shit about it. Some people may be okay with this in casual use, but for this video, it's very much not ideal. So it's off to Windows XP then, and thankfully this time VSync was turned off, so I can actually properly benchmark this stupid fucking thing. In 3D Mark 99 Max, the Mirage achieved a score of 7,816, and in 2000, 3,146. In 2001 SE, I noticed that the textures in the third run were pixelated. I don't know what's causing that to happen, but nevertheless, the Mirage got a pretty painful score of 1,485. and suddenly extreme graphics too look extreme by comparison. GTA Vice City caught me by surprise. In a bad way. It's a game that usually runs fine on most iGPUs, even ones from this time period. Not the Mirage though. Even while driving on the streets, frame rate was not good, and in 4-star chases, expect single fucking digits for most of the time. Very big shame. Halo is an absolute mess. For starters, some of the graphics options were blocked. Also, despite the game theoretically running at 640x480, as you can see on the screen, it looks more like 320x240. I don't know why it's doing that, but it doesn't seem to help the Mirage, as framerate was still quite poor. Going back a little bit further in time, Quake 3 ran alright at 640x480 with the default medium to high-ish settings. Not much to say other than you probably shouldn't increase the resolution. Not recommended. Unreal Tournament wasn't the smoothest experience, even at 640x480, but it was playable. However, like in 3D Mark 2001, this game's lighting effects are pixelated. It's not exactly game-breaking, but may bother some. Max Payne with a high preset was a bit unfortunate. It was playable, but not very ideal. Turning it down to low preset, we get a much smoother experience, but there they are again, the pixelated textures. And I swear these don't appear with these settings with most GPUs. There is a fix of sorts for this, and that is to turn detail textures to high. But now the framerate isn't that much better than the high preset. It's really not that great. Oh man, serious Sam. Even with a speed preset, the Mirage only achieved 39 FPS in the Karnak demo. But credit where it's due, the minimum was 30, so it's playable? Need for Speed Underground is on the very edge of being playable. 5-year-old me will still probably enjoy this, but now I'd be dying for a dedicated GPU. Half-Life 2, oh boy, when approaching broad areas in game, it crashes, always, and even changing a graphical setting leads to crashing. On this GPU I would just stick with the original Half-Life, or put a real graphics card in the system. But I need to suffer. Unfortunately, for some unknown reason, Fraps couldn't measure the average frame rate in some of our games, so I'll do brief mentions of them. Need for Speed 3 runs okay, but seems like it has its own internal VSync of sorts, and it bounces between 30 and 60 FPS. The Sims 2 runs like complete dog shit. Metal Madness is much less dog shit, and more simpler games like Civilization 3 and The Sims 1 had absolutely no issues. Now for the ultimate test. And when I mean ultimate, I really do mean it. Can it play a fucking DVD movie? Well, yes it can, and our Athlon XP isn't having much of a hard time, hovering around 20% usage. So some video playback is possible, but don't expect this to handle modern day YouTube. Good lord, this iGPU really sucks a big one. Even despite its age, the performance is very underwhelming. Many games from its time period just simply don't run too well, even when lowering the settings. Not to mention the slight graphical issues you will see in some games, and the god-awful settings panel, which may as well not exist. Now yes, it's worth noting that these graphics were never meant for high-end gaming, and that it was perfectly okay for general office tasks. But come on, can't you at least get closer to the level of the extreme graphics too? But hey, at least it's from 2003 and not 2007. Clearly SiS will never make something as bad as the Viachrome 9, right? Right? Thank you for watching this video. I worked a lot on it, so I appreciate you sticking around. And if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to, you can also donate to my Patreon to help me fuel my PC hardware addiction.